is how does your skin affect, like, your skin health, appearance, etc. How does it affect your life? And so we kind of threw that in there as just like this is, you'd be really curious to see how it does affect people, how it does, factor into their daily lives. And it was shocking to us, like the number of kind of not downstream effects, but like downstream effects of this in people's lives have been absolutely insane. Like I never would have known just how seriously it is impacting people.
All right, so everyone, hello, welcome to this week's episode of Zero Heroes. And I am honored to have Andy from, and I'm going to screw up the name multiple times. Goodness, I keep on wanting to go LAMARUE, but it's
You got it. You can do it.
It's LAMARUE. Wait, it's
LAMARUE.
LAMARUE.
Perfect.
LAMARUE.
There we go.
LAMARUE. There we go. LAMARUE. And LAMARUE has been doing some super, super awesome stuff. And I'm going to actually just let you introduce LAMARUE to everyone because your story is super fascinating. You and your mother and your, I guess, extremely small team, but doing mighty things, awesome case studies, automating stuff. Please tell us a little bit about LAMARUE.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. It's always fun to talk about it. We basically, a little background on us. We launched in December 2019. Did about research, etc. in before that, but launched in 2019. We are a skincare brand, but we take kind of a different look at it. So we have a patent pending ingredient that basically lets us cover everything from normal cosmetic stuff. So like, yeah, hey, I'm going to use this as my daily moisturizer for whatever, or anti-aging, maybe some a little bit more complicated like acne, things like that. But then all the way down the spectrum to I have a super rare genetic disease, or I have psoriasis, or other really chronic complicated stuff. So we do really, really broad spectrum, all from the consumer side of things. So yeah, it's just a team. You kind of mentioned it's team. My mother and I actually started it together. And it's just right now just a team of us two. So we end up leaning on tools like you guys, tools like et cetera, like in our tech stack for kind of taking place of what we probably would hire for, or things that would be way more complex that we don't have the resources to do, either time wise or elsewise. So yeah, a little background there.
So I'll start with, like, you're taking the approach of relying on automation tools like Octane AI and our friends over at Alloy, and I think apps like Triple Whale. So versus say hiring a large team or raising venture funding or things like that. So why'd you make that decision? And then we can ask about the future, but why'd you make that decision in the beginning, to keep it really small but mighty?
Yeah, so we essentially, to begin with, so as I said, we launched end of 2019. I think this kind of goes back more to, we have a kind of a different approach to it in the sense that we didn't go, okay, here's this, hole in the marketplace, let's make a product to fix it. We have this technology, we have this patent pending ingredient. We're going to start from the product side, and then we're going to figure out who our customer is. We're going to figure out where we fit in the market. We're going to figure out how to talk to our people. So I think everything for us kind of starts on that side of things, like from that direction. So we've grown really quite quickly. And so I think for us, it's just been a matter of, where do we put our time best? Where does it make sense for sake of making sure that product is the focus and that customer experience is the focus? Where does it make sense to scale out? Where does it make sense to hire or not? And so it's been a very, every single one of those decisions, as everyone who runs a business or anyone knows, that there's a lot of those decisions every single day. They matter a lot. And so for us, we've looked at, with you guys, with Octane, and as you're saying, with Alloy or with Triple Whale, et cetera, they've been huge, huge, huge helps for us, because you don't have to have, a team of 2 or 3 data analysts that are looking at everything constantly. You don't have to have someone that's 100% on, hey, let's make sure all of these systems work perfectly together, and build all of that out. So because everything is much more seamless, plug and play, you can make it all work together. It's easy on a non-technical side to be able to see what's going on, understand it. It's been super helpful for us to be able to just like, as I said, we definitely rely like on our tech stack companies to do that, and that's been like I think a very conscious decision, but also something that is we're really grateful for that you guys do as much as you do, I guess. That we don't have to hire necessarily. We don't, as you said, don't necessarily have to go after funding things like that. So
We'll talk about that more in a second, but
yeah,
before getting into that, and getting, of course, into the quiz, which I want to like have you show, how did the brand come about? How did Lamarue like become like something that you and your mother had to go and start?
yeah. So we essentially we it kind of is one of those things that it's very random. It kind of fell into our laps, honestly. Like in full being totally frank, it basically neither of us really had a background in either in consumer like in CPG or in a little bit of experience in e-commerce, but totally different backgrounds. And we basically this ingredient is typically used as a supplement. Like it's a holistic supplement that's used for hormone balance. It's been studied clinically for things like breast cancer, prostate cancer, cervical cancer, all sorts of stuff. It's super effective, but it could be used in topicals. And we had like known about it as a supplement. We're like, this thing's incredible, and seeing that it had done really, really cool stuff for skin, especially for like cystic acne and things like that. And but chemically couldn't be put into a topical. So we engineered the way to put it into a topical because we'd seen how incredible it was. Honestly, if we'd known any better, we probably wouldn't have done it because there were so many hurdles like in the engineering process, in trying to figure out how this actually makes sense to become a product rather than just this, piece of organic technology that works. And so I think it kind of honestly, it's just like the weird story that fell into our laps, and we just decided to go for it because I think that there's kind of like that's just our mindset on it. Is if we see something, if we like it, we're gonna do it. So yeah, and we spent about a year doing all the engineering on it, doing all of the research, doing all the testing. Yeah, very very random. I think it totally fell into our laps, and it's turned out that it's this absolutely incredible product that kind of changes the game for a lot of people. So it's really cool.
So, give me maybe one example of something that when you and your mother started the company that you was unexpected about starting a skincare brand, starting a topical care brand.
Yeah. So as I said, we didn't really have neither of us had industry in CPG at all, and so I think for us, my mom had actually had a niche market apparel brand before this, so she at least understood concept of sourcing of manufacturing processes and things like that. But it was honestly, I think it was a little bit eye opening more than anything for us to go about and do so much research into this industry, both on the cosmetic side, on the OTC side, on the pharma side, and see that in the majority of at least of the cosmetic side of things, there's not a lot of differentiation between the products. And I think that that was something that actually kind of surprised us. Like I think that we were kind of I'd say not that we'd like fallen victim to the marketing machines that happen, but we kind of were like, oh, this is very different from this. Turns out they share 85% of the same ingredients, and most of it is just packaging and marketing. And so I think that that was something that for us was really surprising and that we weren't necessarily expecting. And then when you kind of look at that, when you're doing your own, that does like we do have this very differentiated both approach, what the product does and the ingredient itself. We were looking and we're like, okay, how do we properly get that across in an industry that's so reliant, so I don't know, 95% of it is marketing. How do we get that across that there actually is this very differentiated product, that it's not snake oil, that it is really this good. And so I think that that was for us, it was a little bit of a surprise was that there was so much of that to kind of overcome, I guess.
And so, how did you overcome that? Was that just through a lot of education? Was that just through a lot of conversations? Did it just take time?
Yeah, and so I actually think that this is, I think, honestly, all of the above. That was something that actually I think the last few months has been super helpful with Octane, actually, just to have the really hard and fast data on it. But we did so much. I think we talked to our customers. We really like at the end of the day, your customer is always right. And so I think for us, we just did a lot of talking to our customers, trying to figure out exactly what it was that they needed, instead of looking at it from, here's a pain point. That if you look at it from like, okay, here's zero in terms of, net neutral, nothing positive, nothing negative. If they have pain points, you're going down the negative scale all the way the other way up to, 10 or 100 or however you want to put that, of positive, like you're adding value into their life. So I think that we kind of looked at it and we're like, okay, obviously there are pain points, whether it's expense or the ingredients aren't that good, or it's not a very effective product, et cetera. Those are little pain points. But let's make sure that we kind of hit all of that. But then what else can we do? And so I think for us, it was kind of talking to our customers and figuring out what those value adds actually were, and figuring out all of the pieces of I don't know, all of the issues that were completely unsolved for them, that weren't just negatives, but there were positives that are not being added anywhere else. So I think that that was something that, especially with Octane, actually the last few months, that we've really been using you guys a lot, is being able to actually really, really easily quantify, like, what are those things that they need solved? How are they not being solved? What are the additional downstream issues of that? Because I think that that's a huge thing for people to look at too, is, okay, maybe I'm solving this like convenience issue for people. What does that actually look like in terms of how it affects that person's, like, everyone's daily lives? How does that actually factor in? That's how you have to talk to your customers. That's how you have to, relate to them and understand them. And so I think that we just did a ton of talking to our people and really figuring out what it is that they needed, and actually talking to that very genuinely, which also is a great opportunity for us to just build really strong relationships with our people. So
So you
kind of a rambling answer, but
no, but you kind of also lead into like what the weather system is going to be about, which is like you're using the quiz as a big part of trying to understand your customers. And I hear like
yeah.
you have done some super interesting things with your quiz. So maybe let's just start with what your quiz strategy is. And feel free if you ever want to screen share and show off your quiz.
Yeah.
We are all about that.
Beautiful. I absolutely can. I'll do that in 1 second. So let me just pull that up.
Ba-da-ba, she's pulling up the quiz, assuming that the screen share works properly.
We will see.
It will. I believe.
It will. I believe as well. It'll get done. There we go. Okay.
Audience, feel free to post your questions. We'll get to some of them. I feel like, by the way, before we get into it, like you have more than 3 products, I think I saw from the website.
Where, oh yeah, there's a question there. So a little bit on that. So we do have 3 core SKUs. We have bundles as well, but this is kind of the beauty of, for the lack of a non-pun there, but it's kind of the beauty of the product is that it gets to we really try to target it based on like other ingredients that surround our core patent pending ingredient, that are applicable to, like, for example, eye cream that are best for eye area, face cream that are best for facial skin and for other concerns like acne, et cetera, you get, or body cream, same thing there. So we formulate them really like towards more towards the area of body, and then with our ingredient, because the science behind it basically is able to do everything skin related. So ta-da, there it is. There she is.
Ta-da! I just make things appear in despair. Let's actually show the quiz though. And
Let's
I would
do
love
it.
to hear more about the quiz strategy.
Yep, sure thing. Screen share, if it will work. Da-da-da. Oh no, hold on. Oh yeah, this is.
See, there's always.
Oh no, you were right. You were right.
There's always a 20% chance something happens in the middle of a screen share, which while we do that, I will bring up the quiz right here.
Want to let me? Yeah, are you able to do it on yours and we can walk through it? Perfect. So yeah, so a little bit. I think the strategy on the quiz really when we were starting this was so exactly the question. 1, you only have 3 products. Which one is right for me? So really simple thing is that a lot of, again, in this industry, kind of taking a little bit of a different approach, and people aren't necessarily used to it. So I think that having a really not limited set of SKUs, but really like core, very essential. These are for you. Not going, you need this for rejuvenating, you need this for anti-aging, you need this for acne, you need this for normal hydration, and just having this like proliferation of products that you have to use. So I think for us, that was really the goal. So that's always been something that a little bit of a different approach. People aren't necessarily used to it. So I think that that's been really helpful for our customers, of just really simply kind of confirming what they think is already best for them, I think is really what we've seen. So I think that was kind of goal number one. Goal number two was in kind of what we were saying, what you were just touching on a second ago, of like building the relationships with our customers. Because so many of our customers have, what we address for them is stuff that either they can't address otherwise. We're kind of the only thing that helps them, or it's, something that they have to do from a brand that comes off of a CVS product, a CVS shelf, that is not that enticing. It's not that warm. They don't have any feeling from it. So there's kind of like two sides of that. And so for us, we're able to go through, and you can click, actually, Ben, if you can click into the quiz a little bit, name, etc. We have a page in here that just goes super simple, basic things, age. That's just helpful for us to understand how's your skin feeling. So this kind of goes to the breadth of what we do. So, it's fine. I just want it for normal cosmetics, all the way down to really intensive chronic things that I want to be able to understand or want to be able to fix. So there's that question.
Which one should I pick? I'm going to say some flare-ups.
You can go for this slow guy. There we go. And then this. So this is kind of, for us, is kind of the most important question in the quiz, is what are you trying to target? What are you trying to solve? What are you trying to improve? So for us, we have so many different conditions that it's really helpful for us to be able to narrow down what people are using our products for. So super simple, very basic, but there's really no other way for us to know this, to have this data, to have this understanding. And so then we typically use this question is super helpful for us all the way across. So we use it in follow-up email flows. And so we go, okay, you have, this condition, and this condition. Let's talk to you about them. Here's some info about it. Here's what how our products affect it. Here's how different things in your life might affect it that maybe you don't even know about. Here is, this is the best way to go about this. If you want to talk to us. Here's how we do this. Let's build, let's try to actually do this together. And so part of that is brand voice. Part of that is, how are we talking to our customers? And it's such an easy opportunity to do that on a more personalized level that you really can't do elsewise. So that's been huge. And then another part, actually off of the same question, that we really, really love is being able to, in fulfillment, in physical, like when they get the product, going, okay, you've ordered based off of your quiz questions, you have eczema and anti-aging. We're going to, from there, pass this data onto Alloy automation. And then Alloy is going to go into our 3PL. When we see this, they're going to go, okay, this person has eczema and anti-aging. They're going to get physical info, so little pamphlets, little pieces of collateral that go into your order that walk through everything for eczema, for anti-aging. So that's, for us, like, this was like the most exciting thing when we started the quiz, because we were like, okay, we get to actually bridge the physical and the digital. Like, we can't wait for that. That's the coolest concept to us, because there's no other way to do that. So I think those are really kind of like the main things that we absolutely love.
This is an awesome question with a whole bunch of background on it for everyone. And for those who don't know, Alloy is an integration with Octane AI, like a Zapier, but for e-commerce, where you can send all this data to thousands of other different apps so that you can set up these automations. We have some customers doing some super cool things using Octane AI plus Alloy, like LAMARUE. There, see,
there
I
we
can
go.
get names right.
You did it.
I did it. Small wins.
Success.
All right, shall we keep going?
Yeah, perfect. And yeah, so Alloy, I'm a huge fan. Like, as you said, like, I'm sure everything that you can do between Alloy and Octane is like, there's endless possibilities. So I'm sure that there's a billion different things that people are doing that are so cool.
Did you complete aside? You should have.
Yeah.
I'll find the picture Sarah Du, the CEO of Alloy, and I did a panel
Yeah.
last week at an investor conference, and it was at 8:30 in the morning. So her and I decided to do the entire panel in sunglasses. It was also partially outside, and it turned out great. Like, it's kind of put on my Instagram actually.
You're like, this is really cool.
Well, it's more like, why are you making us do a panel at 8:30 in the morning?
You're like, this was a really, really bold choice.
I mean, you know what? It was a full house for 8:30 in the morning. I guess,
Was it really?
investor. It was. It's an investor conference, so
Yeah.
they care less here. I actually have it right there just for a second before we continue.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Just had to go and do that. All right, back to topic. Now we got a
Next
new
thing.
question.
Yeah, new question. So the thought behind this question, so what areas are we targeting? So again, this is something that for us is really helpful on, again, just customer understanding. And this is able for us, this is something to, again, last question as well, this is kind of applicable, but it is really helpful for us to be able to translate into marketing. So into both for acquisition. So we're going to go run ads. How many people do we know that for our products use it for one of these things? Is it one of our most popular conditions that people use it for? Is it not? So that's always very helpful and really informative. But then, and on this question, yeah. So what areas are we targeting? So again, really helpful. We do only have the 3 SKUs of eye, face, body, but it's really helpful. There's a lot of, it's your whole body. So there's a lot of different areas of it. Are you using it for arms? Are you using it for your under eyes? We don't know. This lets us know. So it seems like a really simple thing, but it's able to inform so much of what we do and so much of how we talk to our customers, and down to simple things like on a product page on the body cream, for example, we're able to know that, say 70% of our people are using it for the body cream to target their arms. We're able to say, hey, it's really great and not greasy under your sleeves. So it's able to inform like things all the way down to that really, really small level. And then also as I was saying, on that slightly more macro, slightly more, outwardly facing, we're going to make, creative on ads this way, or we're going to create, a target audience on Facebook ads for, National Eczema Society or things like that. So it really goes all the way super macro and super micro, just based on like, for example, this one question. So there's like, I feel like getting as creative as possible on how you can interpret the data and how you can use it and implement it in all these different ways has been the key for us.
We have a question before
Yeah.
continuing with the next question, which is, are you using some of this data for the product roadmap to kind of figure out what products to develop, what to do next?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's something actually that for us has been, again, I keep saying everything's been so helpful, but it has. So for us, this has been actually really big because we've had some products that internally we've been like, oh, we want to do X, Y, or Z. This is such a great idea, or this could be such a great product. And then had something else that we're like, oh yeah, we'll do it down the road. Like we've had a couple people ask about it. Maybe that's something that we want to do. And then after the quiz, after seeing what people want, after seeing what people, again, on this question specifically, for example, scalp, of areas that we're targeting. We've had people come to us and be like, oh, when are you going to do scalp treatments? This is not something I've ever known has been a huge deal. I know that, a lot of people do have scalp or hair issues, right? But it's never been like front of mind for us. It's always been down the road. We've seen that that's been a huge winner for us, that people, loads and loads and loads of people are using our products, even though they don't have a scalp product, for their scalp. And so it's definitely 100% informed product roadmap, informed what we need to be, again, down the road of what do we need to be sourcing when. So it's kind of, it does a lot, both like operationally and marketing wise, has been super helpful for us. So yeah, definitely informing product roadmap.
Another question from our CEO and my co-founder, Matt. What was the most surprising thing you've learned from the quiz data? Was there anything that surprised you when you're looking, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, honestly, actually something that I thought, again, I think we had an idea of how kind of people's skin, this is kind of sounds a little bit random, but we had an idea of how people's skin affected them, mentally, emotionally, in social circumstances, etc. And so I think that was something that we'd kind of begun thinking about a little bit, but wasn't necessarily like a huge part of how we were talking to our people, what we were doing for them. of addressing that side of things. But in the quiz, I want to say it's the very last question, is how does your skin affect, like your skin health, appearance, etc. How does it affect your life? And so we kind of threw that in there as just like we'd be really curious to see how it does affect people, how it does, factor into their daily lives. So not about product, not about necessarily finding them the perfect product, but about being able to talk to them, seeing what's going on. And it was shocking to us, like the number of kind of not downstream effects, but like downstream effects of this in people's lives have been absolutely insane. Like I never would have known just how seriously it is impacting people. And we've done some more kind of data collection on this too. And it's like 95% of our customers say that their skin is affecting their mental health. And average severity is 8 out of 10. And so on the quiz, we're able to separate that into, is it social anxiety? Is it just a hit to your self-esteem? Is it it's affecting my relationships? Is it's costing me too much money and that's getting me super stressed out? And so all of these different factors that aren't necessarily about product, but it's about, how can we help you with this? That's something else that we get to do now for them, because now we know about it and we know the specifics of it. So that's been really incredibly cool. Yeah.
Wow. That's really unexpected. Didn't expect that direction.
Yeah, it's really wild. And I think that was, like, for us, super eye-opening, and also went, okay, how, like, we have such an opportunity here outside of just like shilling you cosmetics. What can we do that actually, like, we know that this matters to you, we know that this affects your life now, let's solve it, let's fix it, how can we help? So I think that's been super, super helpful.
I know we're going through some more questions, and then I have a couple more questions because we're getting questions constantly. What about this question?
This one, yeah. So this has been really interesting for us, actually. Again, I feel like every single question we've learned, we've been able to find stuff out about our customers that we may have had like a little bit of a preconceived idea of what was happening here, and it was totally wrong. So for this, are any of your skin wellness targets hereditary? So we did this, and there's the answer there if not sure, and a lot of people do that question, I think, probably because they're like, I don't necessarily want to share this because it's a little bit more health related. But we've seen a huge number of people say, yeah, it is hereditary. So for us, it's really helpful to know, for example, it's a small thing, but it's really helpful because we have this really full life cycle product. People can use it for their infants, or I'm 100 years old and I can use it as well. So we have this full life cycle product, which means that we have a really strong word of mouth as well. So I am a 34-year-old female. Maybe we're looking at that. Okay, maybe did you know we're gonna send you an email or something like that. Did you know that infantile eczema is 60% of kids get it? We're gonna send that to you now because most likely you're maybe thinking about having a kid, or you have a kid, or someone who has a kid. And so things like that are super helpful for us to be able to find our customers, whether that's the person that we're reaching out to directly, or whether that's someone else that maybe, who's around them, who can we be talking to, external from just that person alone. Let's plant the seed. Let's try to talk to as many people as possible with info that we have. So this has actually been a really, really interesting question for us that I think is a little bit more complex to be able to use the data with, but again, super informative and stuff that we didn't expect. Like the number of people who have hereditary issues is like, I want to say it's like around 40%. So it's, again, super, super high. Weren't expecting it.
Before continuing, a couple questions from the audience. I have a question. Are there other questions that you're thinking about adding, or like that you want to ask? And like I saw a couple suggestions in the chat, but are there questions like, maybe it'd be nice to know like X or Y?
Yeah, and so this is something that we're going to actually be building out. Is I think what we're going to do is, so this is kind of quiz number one, like product finder. Let's help. A lot of times it's for new customer acquisition, but a lot of our returning customers use it as well. But we're going to be building out another quiz actually that's kind of tied into our loyalty program as well, actually, for returning, for like our loyal customers. of going, simple things of feedback of what can we do better? What do you like about X, Y, or Z products? What do you not like about X, Y, or Z products? Would you recommend to other people? Yes or no? Why not? Have you recommended to other people? So kind of a little bit of a different, fairly standard, not too out of the box, but again, super helpful data that just being able to have that sitting there is and continue to collect this understanding for us is super helpful. And so that is actually going to be up and running soon, which is exciting. And then this quiz, in terms of adding anything to it, I think honestly we might be looking at adding a little bit more in the future as we roll out other SKUs. Definitely adding in, looking down the line differently, different conditions or different hold. I can't say too much, but like different, different product formats, different things that we're doing. So definitely kind of evolving it as we evolve, product offering for sure.
All right, let's see what we got here. To use any prescriptions. Fascinating.
This one's been really interesting actually, and again, something that we are super surprised by is the number of people that use. And again, so this is a multi-select, so you can if say you have, yes, topical prescriptions and oral prescriptions, and I use an injection, because this is the thing is our product goes from, I'm going to use it for wrinkles. I'm going to use it for I have to otherwise be injecting myself every day with Humira to get rid of my psoriasis. So like super duper huge breadth of information and ways that people are using our product. So this, for example, super informative. We're able to understand one, kind of the severity of what people are going after, which is super helpful. And then also just see like kind of not market research, but a little bit of, are people using RXs? Is this as common as we think it is? Is this something that people don't want to be doing? Is it, what level of prescription are they using? So it's really helpful. It's kind of, I think a little bit for us is helpful on customer mindset a little bit, and where meeting our customers where they are, I guess this is really helpful for.
Another question. Do you do you make any content or make any marketing decisions based off of what you learned from the quiz?
Yeah, definitely. And actually this goes into something as well that we're rolling out soon, which is kind of like I'd say like half blog, half database, for different conditions, for different things that people are use our products for. And so a lot of the quiz data is definitely going to be used for, understanding where to prioritize content, where to understand, you say 85% of our people use it for anti-aging. And we're going to make sure that we continue to pump out enough content for anti-aging because it's a big interest. So definitely informing a lot of, of content creation, of prioritizing on content calendar, what's coming when. And like even for us, and not necessarily applicable to every industry, but for us, for like seasonality of UK, it's winter time. We're now seeing like a big spike on, for example, like on the question of, what are you trying to target? We're seeing a big spike on dryness, right? That's probably because now it's November and it's cold where people are and their skin's getting dry. We're going to make sure that we know that that is such a big interest, such a big thing, that we're doing enough to cover that. So definitely informing a lot of content, a lot of, down to like minor points on copy, but then also larger strategy and timing for sure.
Another question.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward. We're going to talk about like future stuff. Don't you worry. We got lots of questions. My goodness. Do you feel? Oh, we'll get to that one in a little bit. But have you thought about like a second quiz or another journey or like something else like that? We've seen some stores do more than one. Do you think you're going to stick with the one quiz strategy? Do multiple? Like, have you ever thought about that at all?
Yeah, so I think that's something for us that at the moment, I think the one, I mean, it is that simple for us. And I think for the questions that we are asking our people, just doing the one has been incredibly, incredibly effective. But at the same time, again, like, so one, potentially the quiz, kind of a little bit more information collection survey type quiz for our returning, like, past purchases for our returning customers, tie that into our loyalty program. Definitely something we're doing. But I think for us, as product offering expands, we'll probably look at shifting that. So say, it's something we're probably not going to do, but say we did add like color cosmetics. That's a totally different quiz. That's a very different thing from, my skincare. So that, for example, would be something else that we would do if we go that route. So I think as product offering expands, we definitely will expand quiz offerings. So yeah, that's something I think we kind of are looking at for sure.
Let's keep moving to the quiz. I have a bunch more questions. There will be no shortage of questions, but we've gotten to this question: how does skincare affect your life? I think you talked a little bit about this.
Yeah, yeah, and so this is the thing that was super like incredibly surprising for us. We really weren't expecting. I think we weren't expecting the. So okay, so one again, another multi-select, so people can select as many as they want. We're seeing people on average select 3 of these at a time. So whether it's it's impacting my self-esteem, or it's too expensive, or I am like constantly overthinking about it, or things like this. So I think we were really surprised to see. And then there's one option that's like, no, it's fine. I'm totally happy. It doesn't affect me at all. And that's the least answered question. It has, I think, like only a couple dozen off of however many tens of thousands of people that have come to the quiz. So on average, people are doing, I want to say it's like 2.5. So 2 going trending towards 3. Like different things that are impacting, it's impacting the rest of their life in all these different ways. And I think that was for us, again, it's not like tied directly into product, but it's for us has been super, super interesting and helpful to understand what our customer mindset is, what it is that is going on in their life that maybe we actually can address other than just like the hydration of their skin. So I think for us, it's been able to go into like a much more holistic, like bigger view of what's going on and how can we be part of our customers' lives in a way that's not just like 30 seconds of putting on my face cream in the morning. How can we touch base with them in this way? Does that mean that maybe we're going to start a text line that talks about all these issues that they have and like goes on to the mental health a little bit more? Does it influence marketing to go, hey, skincare is not just about this, it's also about all these different things that it does in your life. So I think it's really, for us, this question has been super, super game changing on how we talk to our customers and how we kind of look at the whole picture for them. And it's like everything, I think it informs, it's definitely a piece of informing every decision that we make now at this point is like, okay, yeah, sure, it's about the skincare, but also we know that it's really about a lot more for them too. How do we tie that in? How do we make that part of the customer experience? How do we make that part of marketing? How do we make that part of product, et cetera? So this is definitely, this product, or this question's been huge for us. And I think that's something that I think a lot of, I don't know, I think that's applicable to a lot of brands. It's like figuring out how, I mean, pretty much every brand, figuring out how what you're doing for your customer affects everything else in their life, outside of just, it makes, one specific pain point that we are in theory fixing better. So I think that's definitely been huge.
I mean, I feel like I am learning everything about your brand by just going question by question to the quiz, which is great. We did have a question here, which is the decision to make email required versus not make email required. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so the strategy on that was, so from the like kind of from the outset, from out of the gate, we decided to kind of go from, okay, what's the hardest, in a way, and it sounds kind of stupid, but actually there was a strategy behind this, is let's make this the hardest possible, like let's put up as many barriers as possible and see how it does. And then, so making everything required, you have to put in your name, you have to put in your email, and seeing, what's the completion rate, what's the start rate, what are we seeing, where are the drop off points, etc. So we kind of went, okay, let's put as many potential roadblocks in and see not what we can get away with, but see what we can get away with. So we started that way rather than going, okay, let's make it, you can skip any and all questions, you don't have to give us any information, etc. Instead of going that route and immediately making it like as just like smooth and greasy as possible for them, we wanted to go, okay, let's make this like put as much friction as possible and see what happens. And so we have, since the beginning, we've changed a little bit. There's a couple things now. We changed the landing page, which was actually, we saw a big boost in start rate, which is really interesting. We kind of changed messaging on that and kind of went, okay, this is more of a value add to you rather than just like you're going to find out what product works. But yeah, we've been able to do really well with keeping all the questions required. We haven't had any issues with it. We have super low drop off rates. I think we've been able to, kind of just look at every question individually and go, okay, how can we make this as engaging as possible? Make it clear what the value is for them answering this. And I think because of that, we haven't had to get rid of any questions or had to, make everything not required.
And now we're gonna go and submit, crunching the numbers.
Crunching the numbers. Yeah, and so here we definitely the social proof. We did that from the get-go, and I think that was a good thing to do on the loading page. And then
And so,
yeah.
look, I
Oh, go
got
ahead.
the set.
You got the set. Here we go. So yeah, the what's it called? Results pages they're really interesting to set up for us, because it's going both off of pieces of information, content blocks in there that are based on on different conditions that you selected. So there's a bunch of different results pages because of that. But then also, what is the what areas are you targeting? What are you looking to do? So those are really the main two determining factors on the quiz. We've tried to keep it as simple as possible. And again, I kind of said this at the beginning of like, I think a lot of what people are using the quiz for us, because we have a small product offering, is kind of just confirming what they think that they do need. And so I think it's been really helpful to get over that last piece of what's the hindrance to buying, what's the little like small piece of doubt that's in there. How can we make sure that what can we do to get rid of that? And so I think that the quiz is for us. We've used it almost as like our digital salesperson. Like you go into the beauty counter and you go into I'm going into the like Macy's beauty counter, right? I am going to have someone from every single brand talking to me, explaining everything about the product. It's a super different experience than going on to a DTC beauty company and going, here's what's featured, and you can read about it if you want to. So very different experience, like not forcing information on them, but going, hey, this is available. It's right here. It's 100% for you, and you have it. And making sure that they know they have the information rather than having to find it. So that's been huge for us. And I think it's definitely a little bit of again, kind of like bridging the physical versus in the digital, and kind of doing that experience wise of like taking pieces from each to make sure that you're thinking about it the right way.
So we have made it through the quiz. I really appreciate the deep walkthrough. We're not done yet though. Diving into your business. So one question, I'm going to make it as a two-parter since this was asked in the chat, which is one, how do you drive traffic to your quiz? Like, what's the main way you promote it? But also probably leads into a question of like, how do you just acquire customers in general, which I know was also asked in the chat.
Yeah. So one, I'll go for the first of how are we driving directly to the quiz. So one, we have done a lot of testing, but like creative wise so for all paid ads that we're doing. So whether that's Facebook, Instagram, we have been a little bit slow out of the gate on TikTok, but now TikTok, whatever.
You're doing dances? You're doing the Lizzo dance now? You're doing the whole...
Obviously, me and my mom are going to become TikTok famous doing dances now. But doing a lot of creative testing on that of, are we driving directly to quiz? Or are we just, driving them straight, not to quiz, to site? And putting that directly in creative. So in copy, in creative, in caption, etc. So we've done a lot of testing on that. The quiz strategy, like directly driving to that, definitely does work. And kind of looking at, does it make sense for us? I think there's a little bit of like a messaging trick in people's heads in when you're doing the on creative of, is that, start your plan, start your journey, start the process, take the quiz. That makes them in their head feel like they're stepping into something that's like a little bit more catered, a little bit of a different experience, and I'm just going to one-off buy this beauty product, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's more, it sets customer expectations a little bit differently. So that's been really interesting. That's a huge way we've been driving to quiz, is just straight off of paid. And then also we made this change recently, is now putting it, simple thing, but makes a huge difference, is just putting it straight in the menu. So just right off the bat, that's one of the first things they're seeing is take the quiz. And that's, we've been looking at that. That has been working really well. Also just kind of, putting it as many different places as you can on the site. So going through, we have actually, shout out to another piece of our tech stack called Lucky Orange that is fantastic. You really get to like kind of deep dive into full customer journey. We love Lucky Orange. So we use them as well. It's really helpful for us to just like dissect every piece of what people are doing on the site and seeing, where maybe they're getting lost, where there's not enough information, where, what's going on. So going through and just like, looking, it's a simple thing, but looking at your site super holistically, as if you're not you, as if you're not in your company, as if you are just a random person who finds an ad and you're going to go through the site and see if you like it or not. And so going through just like full CRO all the time. Let's put, a little tag here. Not sure, take the quiz. We're going to put it on the product pages, not sure, take the quiz next to a piece of social proof. Want to find out what's perfect for you, take the quiz. So kind of just pushing as many different places, but at the same time, not making it a chore for them, making it instead, hey, this is something that's actually going to make this easier for you. You don't have to worry about if you're getting the right thing. You don't have to, you don't have to think too much. This is an easy process. Go take the quiz.
Have a problem, take the quiz.
Have a
See
problem,
something on your
take the
face,
quiz.
take the quiz.
Take the quiz.
We're just gonna just have a thing. You're like browsing one day at TikTok, take the quiz. There you go. That's what everyone can do. A couple questions, and then are there? Matt asked a question, which is a good one. Are there other brands that you look up to that you think are just really great at either customer experience, marketing, retention, just other brands that you're like, they're great?
Yeah, great question. Let me think. So someone that I know that we actually look at a lot, just because I think that they're product wise, like an interesting, they have an interesting product. They're very differentiated. They're also like kind of one of the only players in the space, is Nutrafol. We think that we're like, their marketing and their strategy is really interesting, how they talk to their customers. They're super interesting. In terms of kind of customer experience, again, like on site and stuff like that we really love. I know that everyone talks about them. Jones Road does a great job. Again, kind of like countering every possible point of not sure about information, not sure of, is this product perfect for me or not? They do such a stellar job of going through everything and making sure, we love Jones Road, of kind of just, countering every possible, point of questioning. Let me think, who else do I really love? This is so bad, because I think of like a billion every day, and now I'm like, I can't come up with any. I literally talk about them all. I mean,
you
everyone
just came up.
about,
You came up with two already.
I came up with two. I'm trying to think of more.
There's a billion of them. You can keep on adding more that come to mind in the middle of questions as I ask.
Perfect.
Who do you pull up in your browser?
In my browser. Actually, you know what? I have a giant Notion sheet of different brands. Let's do that instead. Let me see.
The secret Notion sheets.
I do. I have a secret Notion sheet of all the DTC brands. Let me grab it. Sorry. Super, super, super quick. There we go. Okay. My short-term memory has relied on the long-term Notion memory. It really has. Okay. Again, something that I think everyone knows. Obviously, they're huge at this point. But we look at for kind of like that first touch, immediate acquisition on paid. They do such a good job. And organic is Skims. They've been doing a lot like with social proof and stuff that has been really, really good, and just like a super, I think for everyone is just super applicable. I think it's like they just do such a good job. Trying to think who else. Someone actually that I think that this has been, again, kind of informed by the quiz off of that last question on the, how's your skin affecting the rest of your life. is now that we've kind of seen the downstream like mental, emotional, social, etc. effects of it, is someone that does a really, really great job with this on that topic with is Mad Happy. So they, if people don't know of them, they're, I'm sure a ton of people do, they're big, but they are, you know, sweatshirts, sweatpants, clothing brand that they basically, their whole goal is doing a lot with mental health, and so kind of taking it from that route and taking it as like a, you know, destigmatizing, etc. But they have a little bit of like a separate part of their community that I think is a super interesting on retention and on just like community building. They have a separate site that they use to like give all sorts of different resources. They have podcasts. They have different people that will come and talk to them. They have a text line that goes with it that will send out information, send out, you know, stuff on different topics. It'll go, you know, you want to, it's, you know, talking about this month. Do you want to enroll in it? We'll send you texts. So again, not about product, but, you know, on the community building, on the, how does it actually affect people in their daily lives outside of your product? So I think they do a really, really good job on that as well, and just like getting people involved and getting people, you know, thinking about kind of the philosophy behind the product in their daily life rather than just the product. So yeah, those would be my picks.
We have now a full list. I hope you all wrote some stuff down. And Adam, thank you for dropping some additional notions and lists. There, we can never have too much inspiration. Okay, we have like 5-ish minutes left. I want to ask, what's the future? Like, what's the plan? Are you going to ever add any people? Are you have new lines? You going to raise $100 billion? Like, what's the plan?
The plan. So we have a bunch of different SKUs that are rolling out in the next rest of this year and ongoing. We have some really exciting new kind of different, I wouldn't say different verticals, but different verticals that we're going into that are really exciting. And I can't divulge too much, but very, very exciting. Highly requested. And we know this now because of Octane. We know that our people want it, which is stellar. And then, yeah, we are definitely, email me if you know people, if you are someone we want to hire, we want to talk to people, holler. We are definitely looking at raising. We are in the middle of a round right now, which is very exciting. So again, if you know investors, if you are an investor, please feel free to email. Selfless, you know, there's shameless self plug there. And yeah, so very, very exciting. We have a lot coming up, and definitely growing the team. I think that's been something we've been like, okay, we're ready. We need to do this right.
I mean, look, Matt and I've raised a lot of money over a decade, so we're happy to give you some advice on that front.
Thank you.
It's pain and suffering. You'll be okay.
It is.
It's willful pain and suffering. Matt asks if there's one thing about Octane that you could make better instantly. What would it be? Just know the entire product team or a bunch of the product team is listening in, so no pressure.
Dear product team, for Christmas, let me think. Honestly, you guys crush it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I know that sounds like the I know that sounds like the, you know, typical, you can't do anything better, but honestly, I don't know what you guys could do better. Like, everything is so simple. If you want to have people that, instead of me having to do it, can build out all of my billion results pages, that'd be awesome. Otherwise, you guys are killing it.
I love it. I love it. Stamp of approval. Bam. So when is the Future Andy podcast? Because clearly you should be doing a whole bunch of shows and podcasts. You should be.
Should I?
Yes.
Should I start a pod?
Everyone should she be hosting and doing more things on camera, on voice? Yes. It's a clear yes. Yes. I look forward to a couple of years from now, like when you're negotiating your television show. I give you some advice on that. It'll be a good time. But seriously, this has been super, super amazing. I think we got a super deep dive into the quiz. I feel like we didn't even get close to answering all the questions that we could go and ask, but we have learned so much about your brand, about how you built your quiz. Any last piece of advice that you want to leave the audience with?
Oh yeah, last piece of advice. When it comes to the quiz, talk to don't do it like you're surveying a bunch of people. Talk to it like you're asking another human being. I think that that's a huge key for us. Otherwise, I'm sure you're doing everything else right. There's no right or wrong answer.
Think of it as your the virtual version of that in-person associate
Sales,
or concierge,
exactly.
that salesperson. People are asking how can they contact you, what's your Twitter, what's any of those things.
I'll toss it in here. Honestly, feel free to email me. I am literally on it all the time. I am tossing it in there. There you go. And you know what? Maybe I'll start a podcast. Maybe I'll become little DTC Twitter person. I'm gonna do it. You've
You're gonna do
convinced
it,
me.
yeah. You can hang out
You've
with
convinced me.
Matt and Lisa and I and Cody from Jones
The
Road.
whole gang.
The whole game. It really is like Geek Out in Miami, which we were talking about at the very beginning. Really
Yeah.
just kind of felt like a class reunion. So it's a good time, and so you gotta join the class reunion. Oh yes, Eli, make sure we'll have a whole thing. We're gonna have you back.
Perfect.
Just so you
There
know,
we go.
it's gonna be a
Go
thing.
team.
We're gonna have a whole party. All right, everyone. Again, B, thank you so much for teaching us how to pronounce your brand correctly, how to pronounce your name correctly, but like all the amazing insights that you shared with everyone. Thank you so much for being a guest on on Zero Heroes. I'm looking forward to getting you back as soon as possible. Maybe with some
Absolutely.
other. We'll have a whole panel of awesomeness. And everyone, we will see you next week. Lisi, do you want to say a note? Are you there? You want to say anything about who's coming next week? Lisi may have disappeared. Well, we're going to email it out so that you all know who's coming out next week. So stay tuned. We have some awesome guests booked for the next couple of weeks. Watch out for that. Everyone, see you all later.
Thanks, Ben. Bye, everyone.